Mike Dupler. I'm here promoting my book, On the Trail of Bigfoot. I got into this, my daughter was working in Pasco, Washington. She was a newspaper reporter. We did a ghost investigation at the Shanghai tunnels in Portland. We rented a cabin in an Oregon State Park that was halfway between Portland and the ocean. So one morning we decided that we're going to move to the ocean for a day, and we were driving the interstates towards, or driving back roads towards the interstates, and out in this field I saw these trees stuck in the ground upside down with the roots pointing up. The pictures here in my book. I had seen a documentary called Missing Monsters of Alaska, and one of the segments was on Prince of Wales Island. The hairymen took blown down trees and stuck them in the ground upside down as territory markers. So I saw these and I said, maybe there's something to this. I'm from Ohio, so when I got back to Ohio, I got with my sister to go to Salt Fork State Park, which I learned was the hot spot in Ohio. And actually, the state's reporting Bigfoot encounters. Ohio is number 5 in the country, believe it or not, which I found hard to believe. The experts will tell you that Bigfoot sightings are just misidentified bears, but there are no bears in Ohio. They estimate the population to be around 100. So to have that many sightings of 100 bears is unreasonable. It's just not going to happen. When we got to Salt Fork, we didn't know what we were doing. So we parked the car and we started walking a path that goes around the lake. We wandered into a ravine, maybe 50 yards or so, and sat down on this log figure. We'll just sit there and listen for a while, see what we can hear. My sister looked down, and there was what looked like a Bigfoot trap imprinted in the leaflet. We couldn't believe it. We sat down and we looked around, and there's a trap. So we looked around some more for other stuff and really didn't find anything. So we left. We returned probably a couple weeks later or so, went to the same spot, and we were looking around, and up on top of this hill, by the ravine, there were these trees, arched trees, which we thought was kind of strange. So we climbed up the hill where the arched trees were, and we found a classic Bigfoot structure, which is this right here. If anybody can see it, I'll have these on my table if anybody wants to take a look.
I'll try to bring it a little bit closer here.
Here we found the track, and now we found this structure. So I went back several times over the summer, and each time that I went back, I took a picture of this structure. And looking at these pictures, I noticed that the structure changes. Branches were added, branches were removed, things were removed, just subtle changes, which indicated to me that this could be a form of communication. I call it a billboard structure, because I thought since Bigfoots usually travel in family units, in small groups, if you have a structure such as this in a strategic location, you can leave a message. And when you change the configuration of the structure, you change the message. You can let them know that ain't closing town, or Peggy Sue's pregnant, or whatever you want to do, you know. But it seemed like a perfect way for them to to communicate or to leave messages amongst themselves. We went back again the following year. We followed the ravine back probably half a mile or so because I knew there were some caves back there. The terrain started getting rough, so I didn't want to take my sister all the way back. So I just stood and took pictures into the woods. Just took a series of random pictures, and I caught this. You can't hardly see it from where you're at, but there's a figure right here. You can see a brow ridge, you can see a head, you can see a shoulder, and you can see an arm coming down. When I looked at this on my computer, this was just a blacked out distance. So I looked at more pictures and determined that there were actually 4 of them hunkered down in the brush watching us. That guy was either watching us or pooping, one or the other. I really couldn't tell, but either way I didn't want to find out. I went to they were talking about finding Bigfoot. I went to a Finding Bigfoot town meeting in Canton, Ohio. And I asked Cliff what he thought about the Bigfoot structures. And his answer was, nobody's ever seen any, nobody has ever watched Bigfoot make a structure. So he pretty much dismissed it. The structure that I found, I examined carefully. There was no natural tree fall, and there were no root bases. It was put there by something with hands. I retired to Tennessee about 5 years ago, and I found an active area about 8 miles from my house. I went there 2-3 years ago, and I went into this active area. Each time I go into this area, I always look around to see if there's anything new, look for tracks or new structures or that type of thing. I was probably a mile back in for like 2 or 3 hours, and I came out, and that was me while I was in the woods. This is a double break tree. Now, I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear any heavy equipment. There's no tracks. There's no marks on this to show that anything other than something with hands.
So are you saying that Cliff doesn't believe that these structures were made by Sasquatch?
No.
That they're man-made?
They're whatever. They're anything but made by Bigfoot. Because nobody's seen them built, and it's unlikely they would have constructed it. But with this is, to me, this is the next best thing, because this was constructed while I was there. It wasn't there when I walked in, it was there when I walked out. And there's nothing around it to indicate anything other than something with hands would have made it. She makes a good model too.
She does.
Some of the other structures that I have found, I found this in Salt Fork. This originally was pine trees arched over a trail. I thought it could be snow load, but there's really a high road doesn't get a lot of snow. Not like Michigan, they average maybe 33, 34 inches of snow a year. But over time, the tops of these trees have been woven together without the use of any ropes or bindings, and that is actually 12 feet off the ground. They were saying about looking for structures in Bigfoot active areas. The first structure that we found on top of that hill was in a Bigfoot active area because we found tracks and we actually photographed the Bigfoot in that area. The area where that was found, I had been growled at on 2 separate occasions. We were I was with my sister and we were walking a trail, and in the brush beside us, there was a turkey. You could hear it squawking, and it was moving the same direction we were. Eventually, the turkey left the brush and came into a clearing, and at that time, we heard a growl that sounded like a mix between Godzilla and a freight train. I mean, you could feel it when it growled. It made one growl, and that was enough. So we turned around and we left. Now, went to the same area maybe a month or so later, and walking on trail, and we saw a sapling that had been torn out of the ground and just thrown on the trail. So I was taking pictures of the sapling, and we heard the same growl. So, once again, turn around and left. So this is a Bigfoot active area where we found the woven structure. Now, when we heard the growls, it was, to us, it was not a threat, it was more of a warning. Nothing that was in the sound or anything, it was just the feelings that we had, that it was, we were warned that we needed to back up, get out of it. Where's my mom? I took this picture in Zaleski State Park in Southeast Ohio. There are 4 trees that are bent towards the center, and they're held in place by a birch mold. The funny thing about it is, there's no birch trees in this area. This would have had been brought in for that specific purpose. Now, my personal opinion about this and the arch trees were, this could be artistic expression. I'm going out on a limb here, but it serves no other purposes. There's no survival or food getting or any survival tactics involved in this. It's just thrilliness, you know? In Salt Fork State Park, I found what they call a nest. Now this nest, I could actually walk into without bending over. The location of this nest, to me, would indicate that this is not where they live. This is not an area where they would raise their young or anything. To me, like I said, the location of this, it seems like it could be either a temporary shelter if a storm blew up, or it could be used in a hunting situation to where they can hide and observe deer, like we do in a tree stand or something like that. She was talking about broken trees. Here is a broken branch that is 14 feet off the ground. And it's one broken branch. There's nothing around it that would have fallen. To break this, it had to be snapped by something with hands.
Is that an old break or a recent? Is that a fresh break or an old break?
I took this picture 2 years ago.
Oh.
And when I took the picture, it was a fresh break.
Fresh one?
Now something along the same lines, not in the same area, but in the same woods, I found a tree that had been splayed open and twisted. Now, the only reason I can think of to have to do something like this would possibly be a show of strength or a show of dominance. Gonna take this. This is from Tennessee. This is from Cumberland County, Tennessee. My wife and I were just driving around. It was a state forest, I'm sorry. And this is the top of a tree that had been broken off and impaled into the ground so deep that I could not shake it. But that's really cool. That's maybe a display of strength or possibly another artistic expression or both. This is from Tennessee. This is called a teepee structure. This is a common structure that you can find in any state. I can post this on the internet in Tennessee, and I'll get replies from Pennsylvania, from Missouri, from Georgia, from Indiana, saying I've seen the same thing. Matter of fact, I believe they have a picture similar to this also. This is another common structure. This is from Tennessee also. This is known as an asterisk structure because it looks like the asterisks on the keyboard. Now this is another common structure that if you post it, you can get replies from anywhere in the country saying, yes, I've got that, or I've seen that, or my neighbor's seen that, or whatever. And I know she has a picture of this just like this. Where did you get your picture from?
This is Kentucky.
Kentucky? Hers is from Kentucky, mine from Tennessee. They're all over the place.
Oh, we got
The structures, such as the asterisks, the teepee, and the one I found on top of that hill, that are common across the country, have to mean something to them. They have to be some type of marker. They have to convey some kind of information to repeat it over and over again, virtually everywhere. And another thing, this type of structure has to be taught. They have to teach their children how to manage these structures, and they have to teach their children what they mean so they can use them in the future. They could be using these structures for hundreds, possibly thousands of years, and they know what they mean. If we'd only just figure it out, we would learn a lot about these creatures. Now I told you about the upside down trees that were on the documentary, and what I found in Oregon. I have found that on the east side of the United States, in the eastern zones, they don't stick the trees in the ground upside down with the roots up. They just turn them upside down and prop them against another tree. This I took in the spring in Tennessee. In the center, there was a pine tree that is probably 50 feet high. It's upside down. And it's just leaning up against another tree.
You guys.
She's getting distracted.
Hey.
You know, the new trend the last few years with Christmas trees in your home
Yeah.
is to display them upside down. Maybe they got that from Sasquatch.
You never know.
Right?
Can you see that tree in the center? And that tree has got to be 50 feet tall. Here, this is from Tennessee. This is another double tree break that I found, not in the same woods, but in the same area of where I found that initially. And when I found this, there's nothing around it that could have fallen on this to break that. So another break that had to be done by something with hands. This is a bent tree, or an arched tree. This is like what we found on that top of that hill that drew our attention to the structure. This is anchored. There's a log laying on this bent tree to keep it bent. This was intentional. If you're driving around old country roads, wherever, it doesn't matter what state or whatever, if you see something like this, look for the bent trees and look for possibly an anchored bent trees, because if you find this, you can find other structures used. And when you find other structures, you can find tracks. When you find tracks, you can find more evidence. This is something that they use to show others that there's more stuff around to be seen. I drive up and down the country roads because the Bigfoot use the roads also as a path of least resistance. And they'll put these structures along the roads, and they don't hide them. They don't hide their structures, they don't hide their tracks. And if you know what you're looking for, if you're in a Bigfoot active area, you can find them. You can find Bigfoot evidence. Like I said, you can find the bent trees, you can find the structures, you can find tracks, you can find rock stacks, you can find virtually anything Bigfoot related once you identify that. And usually what I found is when you find the bent trees and find the structures, there's an area, I call them Bigfoot playgrounds, where they have these structures, like along one area. They don't scatter them like one here, one there, one over there. They put them like in groupings, possibly as information to be gleaned. If you look at one thing, it leads you to another, which leads you to another, which could be telling a story. But we just don't know. But I'm a structure guy, you know? Everybody looks for Bigfoots and sightings and that type of thing. I look for the structures because I think that this could be one of the keys to understanding what Bigfoot are and what they do. And I believe that when you have a Bigfoot sighting, that Bigfoots intentionally show themselves in one area because people will gravitate towards that area to keep you from another. So you might want to keep that in mind if you're looking for Bigfoot in certain areas, to expand your search, because there might be something that they're hiding that they don't want you to see. So I'll be at my table. Oh, I got one more picture to show you. I was on a bear hunt in Nova Scotia, and I was sitting in my tree stand, and I saw from that stand a Bigfoot structure, like I found in Ohio, and I don't see the picture here. Well, it's in there, but it's uncanny that I would find a structure in Nova Scotia, the same that I found in Ohio, the same that Ian Redmond found on Vancouver Island. That has, like I said, it has to mean something. It has to have an expression. It has to be a top thing. And it has to be a form of communication. So, if you find structures, take plenty of pictures, look at them, and compare them to other people's to see if you got maybe a common one or something that's totally unique. Because I still find, I've been doing this for over 10 years, I still find new designs, new concepts, new structures, all the time. It's amazing the diversity of the structures that they can make. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.